Nimino, does it even seem real that I Only Smoke When I Drink has nearly 100 million streams already?
Oh, damn. Is that where it's at? That's crazy.
You mean you don't have like a graph up on your wall that you're keeping track of
Like
every
a
stream?
counter? No, I haven't really checked. I mean, it's all been kind of crazy recently. But yeah, no, it doesn't seem real. I never expected to go this big, honestly. It's mental.
Yeah, it is insane. Well, Nimino, welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Hey, thank you, Brian. It's lovely to meet you.
Congratulations on the incredible success of I Only Smoke When I Drink.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy time.
Yeah, I bet. Now, I can't wait to talk about how this song was born. But first, since this is the first time you're on America's Dance 30, let's get to know you a little better with Finky's firsts.
Okay, cool.
Now, I always love finding out the origin story of artists. You started DJing and producing at like 16, right?
Yeah. I was a youngster.
Now, when you were growing up, was music the first thing you wanted to get into, or was there something else you wanted to be when you were growing up?
No, I was. What did I want to do? I think it was the first thing I wanted to do, but I didn't realize I wanted to do it. I didn't really think of things in terms of like work or like making a job out of it. I was just sort of doing what I was enjoying. And then eventually I was like, oh, people can actually make money off this. That's cool. People can live this. That's really cool. I had no idea. So I guess, yeah, in that respect, it was the first thing that I'd ever had like any proper interest in.
Do you remember the first time DJing for a crowd at such a young age?
Yeah, I remember DJing for, it was always just house parties, and it would be like all people that I know, and because it was all people that I know, it was all just friends, it would be, the audience would be a lot more lenient, you know, so I could get away with some really bad stuff, which it was good in a way, because it gave me like a sort of ego boost, and I was like, yeah, I'm good, man, I can play whatever I want. And people are into it. But then it also led me down quite a dangerous path of, yeah, basically just thinking that, you know, anything I play out would be good. And it's not really a good litmus test, is it?
Not really. What happened for the first Nimino show?
First Nimino show, I was playing for like, I think 3 people. It was quite late on, so I'd say it was like 2017, maybe 18. And yeah, it was different because it was all my songs. And so I knew people had come out to see those songs in particular. So it was a lot easier than like, I don't know, just playing some trash that I'd heard wherever I was listening to it.
Now, of course, Nimino isn't your real name. Where does Nimino come from?
So it's a long story. Do we have time to go through like a relatively long story?
You know, I'm going to be here till 2026, so we're good.
Cool. All right, I won't make it last that long. So essentially, I was at like a party when I was like, before I was in university, and I played the first song that I ever would have out as Nimino. It was a remix of Where Is My Mind, and it was like it's really like floaty, kind of chilled vibe. And I remember the room just reacting in loads of different ways, and it kind of separated people into like different groups. And there was one guy was like crying, 2 people started like arguing. There was like some just really like visceral reactions, but in very different ways. And I remember thinking, I don't know if the song is doing this or if this is just happening separately, but this is like still something kind of crazy going on here. And someone who was part of that came over to me and was like, yo, man, is this your song? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you have a name that you call yourself? And at that point, I didn't. So I said, not me, no. And he said, Nimino. And I went, yeah. Yeah. So I basically just said, yeah.
That is incredible. Now, I normally ask if it's the first choice when you were trying to figure out an artist project name. After that night, did you kind of want to go a different direction, or was it at that point it was Nimino?
Yeah, I don't know. I think because at that point it was Nimino for sure, but there was definitely like I felt like it just kind of matched the sound of the word, just kind of the sounds I was making, and so it kind of worked in a way. And I don't really think that much about. I don't tend to dwell on things like that too much, like the names of like EPs or songs and stuff like that. I kind of just if it sounds like it matches the project, then I'm happy to go with it.
Going off of something you said, when you're looking out into a crowd, there is so much going on. Do certain things catch your eye and distract you? Like if somebody's crying or if there's a fight going on, is it hard to put that out of your mind to do what you got to do?
There's definitely a strength in being able to target people who are feeling the same way about the music as you are. It's the same thing as like if you were to really be looking or like manifesting something, often the reason that it will turn out that way is because you've been trying to like you've been looking out for signs that it should feel that way, right? So in the same way, I'll look out in the audience for people who are enjoying the song the same way I am, whether that be during an emotional song, someone who's just really like deep in their feelings, or during like a heavy banger, someone who's going crazy. It kind of just gives me like this support of like, okay, yeah, there's people out there who are feeling the same as I am.
And you ignore the rest.
Just targeting them. Yeah, exactly. Ignore 99% of the room.
Forget everybody else.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, I Only Smoke When I Drink has nearly 100 million streams. Do you remember the first moment you realized that the song was going viral?
Yeah. So it was a funny one with this tune because I've never been able to tell with my songs whether they'll catch fire on socials, but with this one, I just knew. Like I knew like as soon as I made it that it was going to go crazy, and so it took us like 6 months to clear the vocal sample. It was a vocal sample of Rihanna J. It's just a real banger from like 2015, and yeah, I had that vocal sample when I was playing with it, and once I'd made it, I was like, oh. I know that when I tease this, people are going to be immediately on my case about releasing it. And so we had to wait 6 months before we had the vocals cleared. And the whole time I was just thinking, man, I'd love to just throw this out there and see what happens. So that whole time I was thinking, I just am so confident that as soon as I put this out, it's going to go crazy. And we got the confirmation at like 12 o'clock at some point in like I think it was like October or something, and before 7 p.m. that evening I posted something on TikTok. It was just one video. Following morning I woke up and it had like 100,000 likes. It was going crazy. Yeah, it was mental.
All I got to say is I'm glad it did actually blow up for you, because normally the stuff that I think is going to blow up doesn't. It gets like 5 views or something.
I know.
So I'm glad it actually happened for you. Now, do you remember the first dance song that made you fall in love with EDM?
Oh, that's difficult. And there's so many. It may be ages ago. I used to listen to a lot of Odessa. Way back when they were doing their early stuff, and Marion as well. I loved Marion. Oh, you know what? I think if we class like glitch hop and EDM within the EDM sort of realm, then I'd say like Cohen Sound. I listen to a lot of Cohen Sound, which is kind of their sound design is just like it from another world. Like it's just so clever, and like even now. And I've been producing for like 10 years, I still can't replicate the kind of sounds that they make. Yeah, and I was listening to this stuff like 10 years ago, like, damn, this sounds crazy.
That's got to be so crazy as a sound engineer to listen to something and not be able to replicate it.
Yeah, got no clue. Honestly, no clue.
Now, finally, in Finky's verse, in honor of the success of I Only Smoke When I Drink, what's your first choice of drinks?
Honestly, I'm just kind of a beer guy. I think it's just from being in the UK, like growing up in the UK my whole life, everyone just drinks beers. as often as possible.
That'll do. Now, a lager or like a cider or
A lager, yeah.
good
I'm
choice.
not too much of a fancy pants. I just like it pretty straight down the middle.
Well, let's talk about this smash. You shared how it came together. How long ago did you start working on it?
So I started making it in November of the year before, so 2023. So like a year and a half ago now, and
Wow.
it was ages ago now. So, but then I made it, and a couple days later, I was playing a gig, and I used it as like the closing song, and it was just so perfect. It just sort of lit up the room in a way that I don't know I'd never seen before. Because a lot of my music's quite relaxed, still very euphoric, but it doesn't go as like heavy as that tune. And it was just really interesting seeing a crowd of people who'd gone from like, quite in their feels, quite emotional, to just losing their minds and getting so sweaty in like a matter of seconds. And yeah, I remember playing that out and just thinking, okay, damn, this is seriously going to do some damage. Yeah, so it would have been like a year and a half ago now that I first started making it.
And when you're dealing with a song where you're using a sample, does management go, no, please, no?
I've run into a lot of difficulties with samples in my time because I've had a lot of tracks go viral and they've had like a sample from somewhere before. There's the Kendrick Radiohead remix. There's the You Got the Love remix. There's so many tracks that I couldn't release because there was just no way that I was going to get those samples cleared. But definitely everyone from in my team would rather if I was to have like do something unique, just to I don't know, to make it easier on their part. But I can't help myself. Sometimes you just hear something and you just really want to have your own little play with it. And if that happens, I'm not going to stop it. And then by the time I've finished, I'm like, I can't part ways with this. I can't replace it with something else. This just sounds like how I need it to sound. And like, I won't settle for second best.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with it because it is such a smash. Now, something I love to find out about songs is how many different versions there are from when you start working on it, all the tweaking that goes on to when you finally put it out. Do you remember what the final V was of I Only Smoke When I Drink?
Yeah, I think it was only three. I think it was V3.
Stop!
Yeah. There was definitely some versions before that were like a little bit more janky and kind of like offbeat and kind of strange sort of vibe to them. But then once I found that path, it was like, okay, well that's got to be it.
And is that normally the way it is with Nimino music, or are there a lot of different versions sometimes?
No, often what will happen is if I get to V3 and I'm not feeling it, then I'll just throw it away and I'll never hear it again.
That is amazing. Just coming from all the chats that I do where DJ and producers are like, yeah, V55, V120.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because there's so much tweaking, and then they normally go back to like V16 or something.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's not really hard. That's not really hard. Yeah.
Well,
I think because I make so much music. Like I said, like 2 or 3 songs a week, and so it's kind of a feeling of like, all right, well, if it's not there, then just bin it, and there'll be another one tomorrow.
that is amazing. Well, what is next for Nimino?
So this year, a lot of festivals. I've got an EP coming out next month. It's going to be a big one. It's very exciting.
Now, tell us about Shaking Things Up. How did that song come together?
So I heard this tune, and it was it's another sample situation, honestly.
Hold on. Your management is in my ear right now saying, please stop with the samples.
Honestly, I'm a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, I found this like soul record from like the 70s, and it had this like really bouncy vocal over the top, and it had so much energy behind it. And I really just wanted to do something underneath it to give it the energy that it deserved, because the instruments behind it were just sort of doing like quite chilled stuff. And so I took the vocals and I made this really bouncy piano like area, and then like moved these synths into it, built it up, and then just gave it this huge release. And yeah, it just felt like I don't know, it felt like two worlds colliding in a way. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, that one.
And how long did you have to wait for clearing on that? Or wait, has it been cleared?
That was none of your business, Finky.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Nimino, thank you so much for your time with us on America's Dance 30.
Yeah, thank you so much, Finky.